got the names and I didn't really care to. I just want the money, so the mission I adhere to is simple. I join some resistance clique, blow up the reactor, then we split, that's it. And they go on about saving the planet, all the precious resources.
Welcome back to another episode of GAMERZ411. Tonight we have the usual band of suspects, Travis Hilliard, aka T Hill, Hung Fat, and a new addition to the show, MWV Dragon. Welcome to the show. I believe this is your first time. And let's just get right into it. Our first topic of the show. Over this past week, we had a few pretty significant releases. Two of them being Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City and Ninja Gaiden 3. Now, both of these games have been getting slammed all over the place by critics and by certain gamers. For me, I didn't pick up Ninja Gaiden 3 because just from what I was reading, it looked as though that the developers were kind of turning their back on the fans and just really dumbing it down. But I did actually pick up Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, and I'm just gonna say this just one thing real quick. The reviews, I don't believe, justify what the experience is, because the experience I've been having with the title has been really good. I'm having a ton of fun with the game, and just a lot of the reviews I've been reading I feel are invalid. Travis, what do you think?
So one of the biggest issues with I'll start with the Operation Raccoon City is, IGN really slammed the fucking shit out of Operation Raccoon City, and I read the review back and front several times before I even popped the game in my console, because I want to see what they, IGN, they're the number one video game website on the planet. So many people take what they say as truth. So if they give it a bad score and they bash the game, a lot of people don't buy the game. So after playing the game, we got our couple hours in, I noticed that a lot of the shit that they had in their review was straight lies. It was very clear that they're lies. And I'm not trying to hammer down on IGN, but that kind of tone that they set became commonplace in the industry. A lot of people are attacking it, and you can read the reviews, and it's like, dude, that's not even true. Are we playing two different games? Things like hit detection. A lot of people are saying it's all over the place. Sometimes it's super accurate, sometimes it's not accurate. I know with my play session with New Payback is that if I wanted to hit somebody in the head and do a headshot, one bullet, it's putting them down. It's that simple. It was super accurate. The recoil was like what you would expect in a TPS type of game. The melee combat was a little muted, so they were kind of right there. It didn't feel as powerful as I thought. But they really made it sound like a lot of the combat mechanics were super generic right out the box. And I know me and Payback found a lot of scenarios where the mechanics were very unique and actually useful. Shit like, turning zombies into meat shields. So you snatch them up, you can either boot them away, use them as a bullet sponge, or snap their neck when you're done with them. Shit like holding, I'm playing on the PlayStation 3, so I'll hold the L2, and it puts you in this nice mode. I think it's L2, where it puts you in this nice mode where you'll auto lock on whoever's around you. And so it does this really cool camera angle, and it's like shit you would see in a movie where they're swinging their arms over, like almost what you would expect from like a Charlie's Angels type of movie where they're swinging their arms over. It looks really cool, cinematic, and actually is useful, because when you start to get swarmed, it's a good way to get out of a bad situation quickly.
It's really it's a quick draw mechanic.
Yeah.
It's just meant to be a quick draw for your pistol, and then it just locks on, and then depending on where you aim or where you steer the right analog stick, it'll lock on to whatever zombie is in that direction.
Yeah, I found it very useful. Things like, a lot of people are, IGN, going back to them, they were bashing it about the cover system. One of the things in most games with the cover system is you have to actually press a button to initiate going into cover, which when you're in a firefight, a lot of times, look at Mass Effect, look at Call of Duty, not Call of Duty, but Gears of War, a lot of them have them mapped to the same button. So your run button will be the same, your cover button will be the same, hopping over the cover will be the same. And to me, that's always been an issue because a lot of times when you're getting swarmed, pressing that button may screw you. It may not do the thing you want it to do because you have too much shit mapped to the same button. So what is it, Slant 6 figured they would do is they would map that to your analog stick so you can easily glide into cover. And I never had any problems with gliding in and out of cover. Once you're in cover, like following along a wall, as long as you had your camera in the right direction and you were using your camera appropriately, you were sliding around cover, moving in and out, and it felt very organic, very fluid. So I take what they're saying. It's like, dude, did you use the cover system the way it was intended? What is the deal? And a lot of it didn't seem like it was based on actual facts on the gameplay mechanics. They did have a little bit of, accuracy with the AI, saying that it's broken and the enemies just don't do shit. They're pretty much there for, obstacles and not actually a threat. That's not true at all. The enemies will swarm your ass. There's different types of AIs. You'll have the zombies that kind of walk up to you and in hordes, just kind of over
the Crimson.
And then you have
Crimson heads will fucking
charge you,
swarm your ass, and especially if you're bleeding. They'll go nuts on you.
Yeah. They throw everything in a different kind of pacing that really switches up your combat mechanics, the way you handle a different scenario. But I did notice, and like we were talking before the show, that every now and then, it was rare, it wasn't common, that you could tell something changed in the game, whether the code break, I don't know what the triggering mechanism was, but all the enemy, and this is your AI teammates, and the enemy AI would stop doing anything. They wouldn't defend themselves, they wouldn't fight, they wouldn't engage each other, they would just go on pause mode. So it seems like it's a firmware code, something that they could fix in the background with a patch, but it wasn't frequent. I had my guys healing me, enemies are swarming me. I have yet to hop in the multiplayer, and that seems to be like the shining beacon. But even then, if you look at some of the reviews, they're giving it a double-handed kind of, a double-edged sword compliment. They're saying it's really good, but then it's nothing new, nothing really impressive, and that it's almost a waste of space. And
waste of space. I don't think there's really any other game that kind of does the multiplayer how this game does it, because there's no third-person shooter I can remember where you're putting two teams against each other, but then the zombies are all in the middle. So you have kind of two problems you have to worry about, or two threats when you're playing online. And I don't think there's any other game that's done that before.
Yeah, I would say you're right. There's usually never a third party that's no one has any control over, and not another team. If there is another party, it's usually human controlled. So when you throw that third obstacle in there, it changes the dynamics. And I know just from what I've read that you can exploit that to your advantage.
Yeah, if you make I was playing on it today. I played the heroes mode and some of the team deathmatch style game. I forget what it's called, but it is like a team deathmatch. I played the heroes mode, and I depending on how you can actually bleed in the game.
Yeah.
And that makes the zombie if you can make your enemy bleed, if you put enough rounds into them consecutively. And then that'll cause them even bigger of a problem, because then all the zombies will just flock towards them. And not only that, but it's not just zombies that come into play. When I was playing the heroes mode, friggin' Mr. X came and was causing he was running around the entire map just fucking beating the shit out of whoever he saw. So I mean, that's another thing. It makes it a lot more fun and intense, because you can, like you said, Travis, you can use certain things to your advantage, the third party to your advantage in some ways.
It makes it's a different experience than what we're used to in the online space. The only other thing, and I don't know, this is something I don't know how to take myself. The game does, you have to know to some degree, the Resident Evil universe's story. What Raccoon City was all about, what was transpiring at the time. Anyone who just picks it up won't know who the fuck Leon S. Kennedy is if they're not a Resident Evil fan or if they're not a big gamer. If you buy it as a standalone title and this first time into the series, you could get a little confused because they're Slant 6 did this as, we want to take you back to Raccoon City. That's one of the favorite local locations in gaming history. And so what their assumption was that if you're going to buy this game and know the setting, you already know the Resident Evil lore. So for a journalist to kind of bash that because of that, it seems a little unfair, because how many games already build that assumption in? You're buying it because it's a sequel or set in the universe you're already very familiar with. There's nothing wrong with that. It's catering to an audience that is a fan of that franchise. So that seems a little unjustified, but at the same time, I could see somebody saying, okay, if a new consumer comes in and they're going to buy it, they're not going to know who's who, what's what. It's going to be kind of left field. They don't necessarily fill in those gaps so much. They do in some degrees with like the data collection items you can pick up, but it doesn't go super, super deep. But does it need to be? I guess would be the question. Anyone else, have any thoughts on this?
Not really. I mean, I played it at E3, and I remember, I don't know where you were at E3. I think you were checking out Mortal Kombat.
I got to play it because it was right next to Asur's Wrath.
Yeah, I think you were playing Asur's Wrath while I was playing Raccoon City. And what I played at E3, it just didn't really draw me in enough to go out and get the game. So that's why I did the whole let me sit back and wait and see approach. But, I don't think the game deserves a 3. I wouldn't say it's a stellar title, 10 out of 10, which really nothing is nowadays. But from what I'm seeing, it's definitely not a 3, and I think the reviews are a little bit off there. But honestly, for me, I can't say too much about it. It just didn't really do anything for me, and I haven't played the final retail version. But it looks pretty cool. I can't say I wouldn't pick it up maybe later on when the price drops. We'll see what happens there. But it's a cool idea. But I kind of feel sorry for Slant 6. They got pretty much their shit rocked this week by all the reviewers, and then of course they're all throwing SOCOM Confrontation back in their face as another a slouch of a game that kind of is kind of, I wouldn't say well, maybe it is tarnishing their reputation a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's cool that they ventured out and did something different with the Resident Evil series, but at the end of the day, I got to be honest with you, I'm waiting for RE6.
Well, yeah, any real RE fan is waiting for it.
Sure. And I told you at the beginning of this year that I wasn't going to do what I did last year. I'm going to buy less and play more, and that philosophy has been working out for me, because normally I would have bought that, I would have bought Ninja Gaiden, I would have bought all kinds of shit, but this year I'm kind of taking a step back and kind of just waiting to see more. I'm being a little more picky and choosy, I should say, although this is a game that people shouldn't pass off just because of reviews, because it does look pretty cool. So, but it's kind of like with Ninja Gaiden, and we'll get to that in a second too. That's another game that's a little on the unique side, and a change for the series that's obviously not that good.
Yeah, I mean,
well, hold on. We haven't really heard from MWV.
Yeah, bring him.
Yeah, well, have you had a chance to experience any of Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, or what do you know about it?
I haven't actually had a chance to play it or anything yet. I'm not the biggest fan of the Resident Evil games, but I do have Resident Evil 5, and I've downloaded 4 and everything. But it looks like that, from what I've been reading of some of the reviews and everything, it looks like that mostly the single player, playing by yourself, seems to be what's really stinging people with it. I mean, the online seems like it might be pretty enjoyable, and that's what it seems like most of the reviewers liked about it, was what you could do with the online.
Mm.
Well, I mean, that's fair, because, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but the whole premise of the game is to play online, connected with your buddies. Playing by yourself, it'll be cool, but it's not the same. Like, I played for it after Payback got off, and it was fun, but it wasn't the same. That connection, that coordination, that teaming up, the strategy, the game was designed with that in mind. That was the developer's promise to the consumer, was you're going to play in the Resident Evil universe with your buddy instead of standalone, or it was more of a group experience is what they were trying to sell. So playing it by yourself is against what the developers, they give you the option, it's drop in, drop out. But that was never the the agenda with slant 6 in this game.
I mean, just the thing just going back to what the reviews were saying, it just seemed like, I think maybe that's what they were playing. They were playing the game kind of by themselves. Because, like, even though I played some of it by myself, I didn't think it was honestly that bad. I mean, I managed. I was getting through things without any real problems. But, like, the thing that, like, me and Travis were kind of talking about when we were playing the other day is that, like, are the journalists nowadays, like, are they actually playing the game, or are they just fucking trash at games now?
Yeah, it's hard to tell if they're really playing the game for what it is,
Well,
or they play too many games. They're getting a little too jaded and too fussy and too cynical.
Well, here's a perfect example. Go back to, what was it? Game Informer, was it last year? Where they kind of showed their true colors about the journalists. And we're starting to hear a little bit more about it. Is that they're playing the games on easy mode when they're doing their reviews. So why are you having to put it on easy mode? You should not, as a game journalist, you should be skilled enough as a gamer to put it on fucking normal and beat the game at least, on the very least, on normal.
Well, I hate to say it, but Torrance Davis and Hip Hop, they do the same shit.
Those are my boys. But
really? Hip Hop Gamer does that?
Oh, I'm not calling him out. He'll admit it that he has to play so many games that he needs to play them on easy so he can get the reviews out. But you're right.
I'll never do that because
I agree. Listen, I agree. I'm just telling you how many reviewers do that. It's not just IGN.
I think it's unfair to the developers because the mindset of a journalist, or what you're going in as a journalist, a game journalist, is that you're supposed to have a solid understanding of gameplay mechanics and should, on normal difficulty, have little to no actual challenge. On easy, all the kind of gameplay designs that are actually supposed to challenge the gamer are not there because that level of difficulty is simply there to get you familiar with gameplay. Playing a video game. That's all easy is there for. It's to get you into the experience. And then if you like that experience, then you ramp up the difficulty and experience the game the way the developers actually intended. Games like Ninja Gaiden, the reason why they have like core audiences is because they said fuck the easy mode. We don't want, if you like easy games, we're not for you.
Right.
And that's going into like...
It's kind of like Twisted Metal. Like a lot of people, the new Twisted Metal players who bought Twisted Metal, like, God damn, this game is so hard. It's not that it's hard. It's challenging enough to where you need it. That you just can't sit around and have a conversation with your buddy on the couch while you're playing Twisted Metal. You really got to pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, no,
or you're not going to enjoy that game.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, there's no autopilot on Twisted. And I told you the same thing. Like when I fired up Twisted Metal for the first time, and I got through the first couple stages. I'm like, damn, this game's a little tougher than I thought it was. And this game, now that I'm really good with the controls and I got that down pat, I like the difficulty. I don't want everything
easy,
noobed down and dumbed down for the mainstream audience nowadays, man. I want my hardcore experience like that. I want a game that makes me pay attention the whole time and use strategy.
Shit that engages the consumer is what you want. And as a journalist, if you're going through it in easy, what do you think that says about their experience they're getting? The difficulty is not there. So what are you going there for? They're doing speed runs. I mean, it was clear with Game Informer. Again, I go back to bashing them with the whole Vanquish review. I found out that they did it on easy, that they did it in 2 hours. They did a speed run. So they were ignoring 90% of the content to just get through the game. How many journalists do you think actually do that with their reviews?
A lot of them.
Yeah. A lot of them do that.
A lot of them do them, bro. I hate to say it, Travis.
I know. This is more of a question for the viewer, the listener.
And I think that's great that you're playing a lot of games and beating a lot of games on the normal difficulty or harder difficulty and still getting your reviews out. So that says something for you, which I think is great. But nowadays, these guys were hardcore gamers at one time. They got into the industry, and now they play so many fucking games. They're just like, God, I gotta play another game today. That's it. I'm putting it on easy. I gotta blast through. I want to be home by 5. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of mentality is starting to show off.
And it says a lot about their classic character. But I know we're kind of getting off on a rant. I mean, look at.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah. I don't want to.
Let's get Ninja Gaiden into this mix. I'm curious to hear about Payback's perspective on this one.
Well, like, I didn't actually play the title, but that's mainly due to from what I Well, I'll let you. I want to hear what you say just in a minute. Just because of what I was reading throughout, just all over the place about what, who Team Ninja was making with doing with the title now. I mean, they took away all of the weapon variety that, like if you played the old Ninja Gaiden, you got like all these crazy cool weapons that you could try out, like nunchucks, huge scythes, lunar staffs, all these cool other weapons that really that had totally different fighting styles when you equip them. But in this title, they just totally took all that away, and you just use the dragon sword, which is just your regular katana, and you just use that the whole game. And apparently, you don't even get to like really upgrade it to learn new combos or anything. And not only that, but just remember we were just speaking on easy games. This game is supposed to be a hell of a lot easier than what the old games were, and that's just not what Ninja Gaiden's known for. Ninja Gaiden's always been about challenge, precision, just really in your face combat. That requires you to be really fast and on your feet. But this title doesn't have that, and apparently they took out all of the gore, so you're not severing off limbs anymore. And there's just supposedly there's not enough enemy variety. You're fighting just those same generic soldiers throughout majority of the title, which is not how you want to do your hack and slash games nowadays. You want to have enemy variety. That's a big thing in hack and slash titles. Just variety in combat, enemies, that sort of stuff. So it looks as though that like I can see why people reviewing the title and fans would be kind of pissed about this, but just from what I've seen, the title doesn't look like it really deserved like a 3 out of like a 3, because that to me is like the game is friggin' unplayable, and like it's got horrible graphics. There's next to like the sound is horrible, just everything about it is horrible. But from what I've seen, it's not a horrible looking game. It seems to be sound pretty decent, but it's just like reviewers just being a little too harsh on things, but they shouldn't be. In fact, like you said, you played it recently or something?
I'll give you a quick story. I mean, I played a few other Ninja Gaiden games. I played the original one, not the original one, but the one that came on the PS3 about 3-4 years ago. What was that? Sigmata was called?
Sigma. Yeah, the first Sigma.
Okay, I played that one, and I've got about halfway through it. I didn't finish it because it was just a tough-ass game. But I played Ninja Gaiden 3 at E3 for a good hour. It was one of those rooms that I went into that they had like 3 or 4 stands set up, and hardly anybody was playing it. So I said, screw it. All the lines were big on all the other games, so let me play. So I played it for a good 45 minutes, an hour. And one thing I did notice is, like Payback said, it's easier. Pretty simple combos. It almost felt like God of War on training wheels. You know what I mean? It almost felt too easy. The camera angles felt a little too, I don't know, the viewing angles were a little on the weird side, but it just didn't have that feel of a Ninja Gaiden game. It was kind of like a hack and slash game with Ninja Gaiden skin over it. But what I thought about it at E3 was that it just felt too easy. It really did. It just didn't feel like a Ninja Gaiden. It felt like you were using the same 2 buttons, the same combos. And I thought it was decent at E3. I said, well, let me see what comes out later on, see what changes they make between now and then. So apparently not a whole lot, So it was cool, but I can see why other fans are bitching about it. And me and Payback have talked about this before, like all the changes with the recent SOCOM games compared to the old ones. It's a departure for the series, but then again, they're catering to the masses and the new crowd of gamers nowadays who want more of the experience rather than the challenge, and this is where the gripe starts to come in. So that's where Ninja Gaiden looks like it's starting to fail from the review scores. It looks like a good game. It doesn't look like a bad game at all. But I can see the monotonous and repetitiveness showing up rather quick in that game. So that's all I got on that one.
I mean, like Travis, you're usually the hack and slash guy. I mean, like I know just talking to you, you've had a bit of an issue with Ninja Gaiden though.
Yeah, so here's the thing with Ninja Gaiden as a franchise, and this anyone who says Itagaki was like the great person for the game, he kind of sold some shit that never actually came true. You heard it in the first Ninja Gaiden, you heard it in the second Ninja Gaiden, you heard it in Sigma 2, and in Ninja Gaiden 3. The issue is the camera. That's one of the big issues. And the difficulty. Those are two big problems. One, you alienate all casual consumers, which, as far as we know, is over 70% of the gaming industry is casual gamers. So I understand what they were trying to do with Itagaki gone and say, hey, we want to bring in a huge market. We want to make that. To do that, we have to simplify the game. Get rid of weapons. This is their mindset. I'm not agreeing with it because there's a really good business strategy that would have worked for them, and they would have still kept their core and brought in new consumers. So they stripped the game down to its bare bones, and their excuse was they wanted to deliver more of a story-based game. Well, in America, and this is a cultural thing, Japanese games and Japanese story and Japanese characters that are very Japanese centric, the audience that actually appreciates that in America is very niche. You have to be into anime, you have to be into manga, you have to be into, Twin Dragons, and, very, you have to have a palette for that type of gaming experience. And they kept a very Japanese-centric story and characters and thought we would absorb it. Well, unless you're in that niche, it's a waste. People won't appreciate it for what it is. So not only did they strip it down to be more of a streamlined experience, but they alienated the hardcore audience by doing so and try to give it to a larger audience that's not going to appreciate the characters. So you're already in a fucked up situation at this point. So what could they have done to fix this? Well, there's a game called Bayonetta. I don't know how many of you played it. That took a very unique approach. They had an auto mode, so that way you could an entry level person could be all blown away by all the cool shit that's going on, and then you can up the difficulty and it turns off the auto mode. So now you have to actually do all the shit yourself. And you saw those things. So it was one of those type of experiences where if you like what you're seeing, but you want more difficulty, you can then go into it. But the hardcore consumer, the hardcore gamer, is going to automatically avoid the auto mode. They're going to go straight to the higher difficulties. So they get all their meat and potatoes with the combat mechanics. If Team Ninja would have applied that to the game development, that would have appeased both consumer bases, right? And Payback, you're a hardcore Ninja Gaiden fan. Would that have made you happy?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm all for getting new people into series, but you can't just give your fans that have been with you from the start the big fucking middle finger and dumb it down. Like, that's just one of my whole problems with today's just industry. Everything is way too easy. And like everything is getting dumbed down, especially shooters, towards just in favor of accessibility rather than just having some true depth to it. But I mean, yeah, what Bayonetta did was pretty smart, and I just hope that if they even do make another Ninja Gaiden 3, because I think this one's probably going to tank sales wise, that they do go back to the roots. I mean, you can try to make a new story. I don't have a problem with that, but at least keep with the gameplay intact.
And here's the thing with the journalistic reviews on it. If you read the reviews, 90% of them, you could tell that they are butthurt fanboys. And this is the whole thing I've said before in the past, and I'm not going to go too far on it. With the review, the scoring system, when you score a game, it should somewhat reflect your review. And you should be able to take yourself out of to a degree out of the equation when you do a review. You give your opinion, but you also bring facts. And a lot of this reviews that you see out there have almost no facts, little to none, and it's all just opinion. when you're giving a review, you're supposed to be telling a consumer why they should buy this game or why they shouldn't. And if you put your opinion in there entirely and there's no facts, how is a consumer? I mean, I read a review the other day that for Journey, I'll take Journey for example, that did not talk about any of the highlight points or the downsides of the game. It was just all opinion with no hooks for facts to go off of. The person was just going off on a tangent. And that is exactly what we're seeing with reviews from regarding like the new Resident Evil and the new Ninja Gaiden. Very little facts and more just slamming. And you could tell that it's a fanboy that cannot separate their fanboy enthusiasm for the franchise and the actual point where they're supposed to be a journalist and be unbiased, impartial, and analytical with their review. Those are things that you learn in journalism school. That you're supposed to, have that impartiality to doing your review. If you read these reviews, you can read hate for a franchise, and then when you give it a low score, it shows that you hate that you're hating on it. You're not even separating yourself and saying, okay, what is it as a title? Are the graphics broken in either one of these games? Nope, they're not broken. Are they watered down? That's aesthetics. That's purely subjective and opinionated. Are the gameplay mechanics broken? No, because one, hit detection is not an issue. There's no clipping. There's no physics issues. So things like that aren't broken. So you can't really hit on that. The story, that's subjective. That's opinion. Is it coherent and make sense? Both of these stories make sense. So it's not broken there. Whether it's all the flash and dash, that's opinion. That's something you sell as your opinion. But you have to be impartial. Does it make sense? Can you follow it from point A to point B all the way through to the ending? Yes or no? Both of these are yes. So these are things that you have to really take into consideration when you're you're writing a review, and two, when you're reading a review, is the journalist doing their due diligence? And a lot of times that's not the case. But I know I beat that up.
Dragon, did you play those games at all?
The Ninja Gaiden ones? Yeah. I've played the first and second one. I haven't beaten any of them, of course, but I'm going through Sigma Plus on the PS Vita, and I got a copy of Ninja Gaiden 3 here, but I haven't gotten around to trying it out or anything, so can't really say too much about it. But yeah. I did know what I was getting into though before I got it.
Well, that's the whole thing, as long as people know what they're getting and they're not expecting something else. It's the worst when you buy something and it's totally different than what you expect. But if you know what you're getting into, then you're good. Obviously you're not going to buy a game like that thinking it's going to be FPS type shooter when you know it's a hack and slash, even though it's departure from the series. But it's going to be more on the God of War lines. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm seeing at least.
And from my problem with the whole Ninja Gaiden franchise is the camera. I knew when I saw it at E3 that they still hadn't fixed the camera, and I looked at it. I just looked one look, and I watched the dude playing, and I'm like, they still haven't fixed the fucking camera. I'm out, because the last thing, hack and slash things, you need a good camera. Either a preset locked in camera, or a really good camera angles.
Right.
The camera's got to be positioned properly for one thing you're supposed to be doing in any hack and slash game is fighting the enemies, not the camera. When the camera becomes a problem, that's when you start having issues with the actual gameplay. I cannot tell you how many times in Ninja Gaiden games where I was getting attacked from the back, where you couldn't see them, you couldn't swing the camera around, because everything's happened so fast in that franchise that it doesn't take long for somebody to fucking put an enemy to put you down. So if you can't see them and it doesn't take long for them to kill you, that is an issue that they have never resolved. And in part 3 they haven't done it either. So until they fix that, for me, they won't get my purchase. That's an instant deal breaker for me.
Right. Well, Japanese publisher and developers are stubborn.
Bayonetta was on point. For the combat and the camera, it was on point. They did a really phenomenal job.
Yeah. But let's just move on to our next topic here. Mass Effect 3, it seems like it's all you ever hear in the news nowadays. I'm like,
no.
Really, it's just getting out of hand, I think. But
Really, I'm almost. Even though I haven't beaten the game yet, I don't mean to cut you off. Me and Travis were talking earlier. I'm getting to the point to where I'm like, you know what? Just tell me the fucking ending so I can know what everybody's talking about. But I don't want to ruin it.
yeah, I haven't beaten it either yet, so I can't. If people are really making a big deal out of it, then it must be fucking bad.
70,000 people signed the petition.
I don't think
Wow.
Jesus, and because I don't think something like this has ever happened in the industry before.
No.
Developer, the fan base complaining this much about the way a series concludes. I don't think not that I can remember. I don't think something like this has ever happened before.
This story won't go away. It's unbelievable how much press it's getting.
Well, I've been gaming for over 20 years, and I've never seen a game end like this, especially one with such a stellar storyline. There's a lot of stuff that's going on with not just 70,000 people signed the petition. Companies like Amazon and EA Origins are giving you refunds on the game.
I can't believe that. I thought when I was reading, I'm like, nah, this has got to be bullshit. I can't believe it's not.
The thing is, I beat it already. I beat it the first week it came out, and the whole
on easy.
Nah, hell no, fuck that shit.
Sorry.
No, you're smart ass. But the premise of this whole franchise is all about choices and having your unique experience. And without spoiling anything for anyone, the ending robs you of that. It doesn't matter what ending you get, it robs you of that experience. And it is brief, short to the point, and is over before it even really starts. And it's canned. Everyone gets the same fucking set of options. There is no... If I let Tali die and keep... the Geth around, or if, sorry, kind of a spoiler, hopefully you played that far into the game, if you make decisions in the series, none of that shows up in the ending. And I'm not talking about, one of the things that consumers are really mad about, and rightfully so, everyone I know who I've told them about kind of what the ending's about, not without spoiling it for them, they're all like, nah man, it can't be that bad. And perfect example, swear to God, today at work, a buddy of mine, I walked into him and all he did was shake his fucking head at me. He was so disappointed. I'm like, well, tell me why. And the same qualms he had are the same ones I had. So I know realistically, BioWare could have just ended that right when that last piece happens in the game, cut to black, and that's it, and just said the end. And it would have been no different, depending on any of the endings you pick.
Wow.
After you put 40 hours into each title, 40 plus hours, some people go fucking crazy. If you put
RPG guys are nuts.
Oh yeah, if you put 40 hours into each title,
Kingdom Hearts people.
Oh yeah. And then you get gypped.
What's wrong with that one?
If you get gypped on your ending, how mad are you going to be? You're going to be pissed because you're going to
I don't even fucking want to play it now. If it's gonna disappoint me this bad, because you know me, I'll fucking... if it disappoints me, then I'm gonna lash out at it. So, I feel like I should just wait for this new fucking ending that they're gonna make.
I'm kind of thinking the same thing. I told Travis earlier, man, I am in love with this game right now. I don't want to end it just because I know I'm gonna be sitting there with my fucking lip sticking out going, really? Dude. Tell me that didn't just happen.
Real talk, after I beat it, I went out, smoked a cigarette. I was so pissed. Came back in.
Smoked another one.
No, I came back in, played the other two endings, and I went back out, smoked a cigarette, and I was like, did these guys just fuck me? Did I just get ripped off by BioWare? And the gameplay leading up, everything all the way up to the end was fucking amazing. And the end was just like, dude, could you shit on your fan base any more than that? I mean, that's pretty much, you just hawked a loogie in my face. And it was pretty bad, and everyone else feels that way. And when you guys get to the ending, you're going to be saying, Travis, dude, did they just rob me for, what, $180 for all three games?
I think I'm taking Payback's approach. I think I'm going to wait for the DLC alternative.
You're better off. I mean, if it wasn't for the
I mean, I'm going to see it. I'm going to beat the game relatively soon, but I know Dragon hasn't played it either. He's still working on number 2, so I guess we're all in for this shock and all surprise.
Now
Yeah.
the question that was brought to me, my buddy was asking. He's like, "So how do you think this new ending is gonna work out?" I'm like, "Well, if BioWare's smart, they'll give it to us for free. If they charge us for a real ending, oh hell no! I'll be on their forums just
I don't
blasting them.
I don't see them charging for this. Not with this kind of
Dude,
press. I mean,
they
not like
DLC. Come on now.
No, well, yeah, that was ridiculous too, and I'm a dumbass who bought it. But
I am too.
yeah, and I got it. You know, just because it did make a difference in the game to a degree. I did want to see the. Well, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it was fine. I didn't mind spending the $10 for what we got, but that was something that I feel that's more irrelevant. To be quite honest with you, it's not a big deal. But the ending makes everything relevant of how bad it ended.
Well,
it's just I can't believe.
You
I just can't believe.
Sorry, go ahead.
I know, no, you didn't cut me off. I'm just saying it's just unbelievable how bad this ending story won't go away on the internet. It's on every website, on every forum. I mean, I'm seeing people on Twitter just going, "Really? Are you fucking kidding me?"
It's cookie cutter. They're cookie cutter fucking endings. I mean, I could have made a better fucking ending for each one of you guys while taking a shit. I mean,
right.
It's a travesty. If it wasn't for the amazing story that leads you up to that point and the just insanely good online, I would if those two things weren't there, I would have taken the game back. And you guys know me, I don't take fucking games back to GameStop.
No, I'm a collector too.
Yeah, I like having this shit in my library, and those endings left such a bad taste in my mouth, and obviously 70,000 other people's mouths. That
I can't believe the petition's up that high.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's unbelievable. What was that, Dragon?
Well, after all the negativity that I've heard of the game, you know, the ending of it, at least, I still want to play it and everything. I kind of want to just get to the end of it, just to see what everyone's
I'm the same way.
what everyone hates about it.
Yeah,
I just want to see it.
I just want to see how bad it is.
is.
Exactly. Oh man, I can't wait to see the ending. But the thing of it is, an alternative DLC to make everybody happy, and of course, here we go again, bending over for the masses. Although the ending is pretty brutal from what I hear. You really think that's gonna fix the situation or make people happy, or it's just putting a Band-Aid on a broken neck?
Depends on what they do with the ending. And I could say this without ruining the ending for you.
In your mind, you know what happened in the ending, but to see an alternative ending, it's just kind of like, well, fuck.
It's not the actual endings that's a problem. Here's the premise of what's going on with everything that happens in the world. One of the things you do through all three games is build connections with the people in the universe, especially the people on your team. So a good way to end a title like this is, okay, so shit happens, and you either save the universe, you don't save the universe, whatever. Is I want to know what happened to my characters after that point. If, say, you become a bad guy or whatever. Well, if I start killing my own friends, whatever, say that's an option, I want to see that. I want to see my guy chasing him down and their reactions to it. If everything's peaceful, I want to see what they do with their lives. At least a brief experience. That's due diligence as a developer, as a writer, saying, hey, I'm going to give you some payoff so that way you kind of know what's going on with their lives. Because a part of this game is, with like Thane, you built a connection with him. You know about his kid. There's development and heartstrings are pulled with each one of the characters. So without saying too much about it, you don't get any of that. You don't get any connections with your characters. So if you built a love connection with the Asari, what's her name? Why am I having Liara. If you build a connection with her, if say Shepard, lived or died or whatever, you don't get to see any connection there. There's nothing to explain what goes on beyond that point. So that right there is one of the reasons why the gamers are so pissed, is that the whole game is about building connections. And if the ending doesn't do respect to that, aren't you kind of getting robbed?
And the two guys who run BioWare are supposed to be doctors? Yep. Yeah, that was a real smart ending.
Yeah, I mean, when you took that away, that's the part that I was so upset about. And I know, talking to everyone I've talked to who've beaten it, they're upset about the same
They're
shit.
doctors. Yeah, they have the doctorate degree in sci-fi.
Yeah, but they don't write the story though.
Nah, the writer
And then
said
she
the writer
fired.
actually defended it at one point, and now the EA and BioWare made him backpedal on it.
I'm surprised as bad as this ending is, it was approved and pushed through, especially for a 3-part game. You know, a one game that does relatively well with a shitty ending, people wouldn't really care. But when they know that this is a 3-game series and the grand finale is at the end of the 3 game and it's total ass, that's what makes it brutal.
Dude, okay, think of it this way: when you go to see a movie, like you're watching it, you're so engrossed in it, and then it just ends, and you're like, oh, where's the rest of my fucking movie? That's the feeling you're left with.
Oof. Okay.
It's like they just, like, somebody at the end said, wrap it up here, we're done. Cut this shit. Put that out. Put that out. It's like, where's the rest of my game, you fucker?
Oh God. Anyways, so well, that's the way it goes.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. Is
Yeah.
that what you're gonna say, old man?
Pretty much.
So with the new ending, Travis, would you pick it up?
Oh fuck. Well, if they
It's free.
I don't care if it's fucking. You know me. I have a little bit of extra, dispensable, cash to put out there. I would buy it. I know if they try to charge, consumers will go fucking crazy. But what I would want, if BioWare's listening, and actually I think I'm supposed to have an interview with them in the next couple weeks, so hopefully I get to give this to them before that.
I'm sure they don't want nothing. They want nothing to do with it.
Here, if BioWare's listening, this is the best option for them to really save face with their fan base. What they could do is say, okay, whether you pick any of those 3 options, all of the choices you made along the way, we will give you an extended version of those endings that shows you what goes on with those characters beyond that point. Because that's what the robbery is they don't show you anything beyond a certain point. And there's so much that's kind of just left up in the fucking air that if they're respectful enough to the consumers, that the ending that they'll provide going forward will show you that piece, that part where you're not like, okay, that's good. I don't need it to be a 50-minute ending or whatever. I don't need more gameplay. I just want to see more of what happens with the characters beyond that point of that ending. And that right there will appease the consumers. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be all elaborate and shit for each one. And it doesn't have to be 50,000 endings. But at least, based on the decisions you make at the end, what happens to the characters. And I think that should shut up all 70,000 people that signed that petition.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for our show today. Well, thanks to all the listeners. This has been another episode of GAMERZ411. And we are signing off.
Go check out gamerswagger.com. Foos. Recognize.
Later.
Later.